Hello. Hello. We're back. Uh, my hand's feeling better. Ready to rock and roll. Remember to put the pre-show sheet up. I gotta get a proper pre-show card at some point. That should be a priority. Welcome in, Ben Jerome. First time here. Uh, I, well, if I've got an endorsement for the mango, we might actually try to use it. I've got a bunch of stuff here. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if I was going to use all of it. Because we're making pasta. The main dish is pasta. Uh, so you need to work on making that first, and then think about the flavors. Uh, Mangoes were pretty cheap. Gunk on it. Mangoes were pretty cheap, so I grabbed one. Uh, Thinking I don't know, I could use it. But we'll have plenty of time to think about flavors for fettuccine seafood pasta. That sounds good. I'm not. I'm going to deliberately avoid putting meats in it today. I'm sorry. You guys are here, and then the workspace is over here. Um, let's move the gentleman. So the vegetables are right here. Put this out here because it's the biggest leak I've ever seen. It's as long as my arm. Um, the vegetables here are more for ideas because we have to make our pasta first because that's the fun creative experiment I've never done before of today is making pasta from scratch. And we do need to get it kicking off. Biggest bowl? No, let's use the not that bowl. Mm. This one. The one in between. I like chicken pasta too. I like all these things. I think I'm gonna go for non-meat topping today. But we have time to think about it. I may change my mind by the time we get there. I don't think I have any chicken, but I've got some beef and some seafood in. We've got time to think about it because I am going to be making a pasta. And I do need to get rolling on it. I've never done this before. Initially, the plan I came up with was to make. I forgot the name of it now. I was gonna make, not ravioli. They're like triangles. It's a stuffed pasta that's like triangles. I was gonna make a stuffed pasta, but I have never made fresh pasta before. So I figured I should try to start with just a plain noodle rather than dive in on something more complicated like stuffed pastas. So this is going to be a bit of a trial run. Where did I put my fancy flour? This is going to be a bit of a trial run for me. Get a feel of how this goes. Oh, there it is. Hidden away. Oh, no. Shoot. It popped open. Oh, frick. Okay, I've got semolina flour. It was kind of tucked away. Now I've got a little bit of a mess to clean up. That's not ideal because we spilled a little bit of it. There will definitely almost surely be garlic in this. Don't you worry about that. How did that come open? Can't have a flour spill hanging around in my cupboards. That'll attract who knows what sort of dastardly critters. I wanted to incorporate this leek, this colossal leek that I found. All right, we're taking none of this is on the camera, so you can't even see it, but I got to clean it up now, or I'm going to end up making the mess worse. So bear with me a moment while I scoop up this flour spill. Now I've got semolina, as I mentioned, I've got semolina flour here, which is like the fancy flour for making pasta. It's the flour that the little crunchy bits you get on the bottom of a pizza. I don't know that it's necessarily needed or even really a good idea, since you're supposed to be able to make pasta with just regular all-purpose flour, which I've got plenty of. But since I've got it, I'm going to give it a go. So I got 100 grams of this. I'm not following a specific recipe, but I've looked up enough to know the basic proportions, and I'm making. The idea is to make enough for one because I'm just cooking for myself today. So we're doing a small pasta, just enough for me. So that's our 100 grams in our little volcano-shaped mountain. And yes, I'm doing it in the bowl until the dough comes together, because I don't really like the idea of putting a heap of flour on my countertop and then trying to get everything to pull together. And we need 1 egg. My eggs are kind of big. Felix, welcome in. You are officially first today. Scraps bowl. So we're making. I'm sure you've seen people do this. I've seen people do this, which is how I have the basic idea of this. Of course, I can't break an egg. When I need to break an egg, I just can't seem to ever do it without pulverizing the shells. Okay, we got that. Shell, fortunately, stuck to itself instead of falling into the egg. So yeah, I've never done fresh pasta from scratch before, and I've also never used semolina flour before. So multiple levels of experiment. And you're supposed to put a little bit of olive oil in it. And some people say put salt, and some people say don't put salt. And I'm going to go with the not salt. I know salt. I do not know the chemistry. I would have to go and read about it. But salt does something to your starches and your gluten formation. Let's get that egg. And the technique was supposed to be just use a fork to get the flour pushed into this glob of wet in the middle until it starts to pick up all of it. and like all flours, or like all doughs, it'll seem like it's not enough to pick up all the dry elements of it. But as it hydrates, the outside of each one of the lumps becomes stickier and stickier, and it picks up more and more of the surrounding flour, which then hydrates. So we've got like loose pebbles now. We're at the point where I can dive in with my old fingies. Once it holds together in a blob, we'll turn it out directly onto the tabletop here with some flour dusting. I'm not going to dust with the semolina because the semolina is fancier, and it picked it up pretty well. Semolina is a little bit fancier. And it is also going to require a little bit more kneading, but because it's a little bit more expensive. That's a nice little starter dough. That came together extremely easily and extremely fast. I am duly impressed. It has a gritty feeling in my hand like cornmeal, but it sticks together in a way that cornmeal does not. I think if you want, actually, that would be a good idea. A combination of semolina and cornmeal to make a cornbread instead of just plain old white flour, because you can get this a little bit more robustness. Anyway, so we're going to flour this worktop because I don't want to risk a lot of extra sticking. For pasta, I think you're supposed to oil your hands in the traditional way, but I also think you're supposed to use a wooden surface. And now we've just got to knead this for a while. Because we need to get the glutens really well developed. It's an important feature of pasta is that you can roll it out into those nice thin strips and shapes and all that stuff. And that comes from a lot of kneading. If you've got a mixer or an automatic pasta maker, one of those things, this is what those are for. Combining the ingredients is not the hard part. It's this long kneading process. And this stuff is, first of all, this is not very sticky, which is good. Probably did not need even that much flour. Can't hardly see what I'm doing because the size of this blob is only as big as my hand, so I'm pretty much covering it with every push. So I'll try to make it a little bit more visible. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing it out, and then I'm giving it a half turn and folding it over, and then pushing it out again, and giving it a half turn, folding it over, and pushing it out again, to really try to get all the elements combined. You're supposed to knead this. Oh, this is one of those things. Never get in a fist fight with a baker or a pastry maker, a patissier. They will wreck you. They will wreck you. I don't know why Popeye, the sailor, had those forearms. Because making doughs, that's where you get that forearm power. Oh, we're going to switch hands a couple times here, too. And we can't really afford to not do this, because this has to be God, when you roll out pasta dough to make the pasta, it's supposed to be so. That's also a possibility. Um, when you roll out your pasta dough, it needs to be stretchy enough to make a window. Like, that's the goal, is that you stretch it out to the point where you could, like, pull it into a sheet and see through it. Oh, so we're going to be here for another. We're going to be here for a little while. So what's new with all you? I had a weird. You may notice I skipped Saturday with a little bit of. I called it tendonitis, but I'm not sure what it was. It wasn't. Usually you get that like around here. It was all up in my index finger. Um, which is strange. And I'm wondering if it might be from suddenly playing a huge amount of Minecraft. I've been playing a huge amount of Minecraft for the past couple of days. Today and yesterday, I dialed back because I had been. Last week, I played just altogether too much Minecraft. I did almost nothing else in my free time. Uh, it's an interesting texture I'm getting here because the semolina is quite gritty. And I can still feel the grit, but it is smoothing out. Hopefully this actually works. Another reason I want to do this with the pasta is I have a pasta roller now. Not a motorized one, a mechanical one, which is going to have to. We're gonna see how that clips on. Ooh, this is getting tiring. Next time you have pasta, remember how much effort it actually takes to make pasta. It's not. It doesn't grow like that. Somebody put an awful lot of energy into pasta. Usually it's a big machine somewhere because they're not hiring 1,000 people to knead little balls of dough. Oh, this seems a little bit too dry. I'm going to add just a tiniest sprinkle of water to it. Which we need to knead in. Don't want it to be sticky, but it felt like it was cracking just a hair too much. And that easily could be because the cold season is upon us and the air is starting to dry out. It also could be that it picked up some of the flour on the countertop and that made it a little bit more floury than originally designed. That feels better to me. slightly tacky. It's not breaking along the edges as I need it. This would be the one of the sections. If we were doing this with movie magic, where we'd either cut away and return to this all kneaded up, so we don't have to sit here for 10 minutes watching me mush a ball of dough into itself 1,000 times. Or we would set this aside, and I would reach over here, and I'd pull out the finished ball of dough. This is not super ideal viewing, but it's the part that always happens that they always skip. It's something I've thought about when watching cooking programs where they do a cut, like they're doing the cutaway or the pull out the finished product that was made ahead of time for the sake of the show, for the sake of the entertainment of the show. But if you're literally watching the show instructionally, you intend to make the thing that they're making in the show you're watching, then not actually knowing how much time and effort a certain step will take, especially the steps they cut, can be detrimental because you won't know. Well, that's okay. I also post going live on Twitter and in several Discords. I don't have my own Discord set up. I probably should do that. I have a central location. Also, you haven't missed very much. We're into our 10th minute of kneading this ball of dough. And Felix is officially first. And that's pretty much all that's happened today. We had a momentary discussion about the flavors that will go on this pasta, but again, we have time to think about that. Oh. Ugh. Getting tiring. This, it's not hard. I suppose if you had upper body issues, it might be. Well, it definitely would be. It's not like it's complicated or even that difficult. I don't have to press that hard. I mean, I do have to lean into it, but mostly I'm just using my body weight. You can kind of see my shadow cuts in and out as I do this because I'm leaning into it so hard. But it's not like it's difficult. It's just time consuming, and you can't shortcut it unless you've got a powered mixer. And even then, you're not shortcutting it with the powered mixer. You're just letting the powered mixer do this for 10 minutes instead of doing it for 10 minutes yourself. The grittiness is almost completely gone. It's very smooth on the surface. And it smells like dough. It smells like egg noodles, because it is egg noodles, because there's an egg in there. Oh. Okay, that's 12 minutes. The bit of reading I did suggested that if you use semolina, which I am using, you want to knead it a bit longer, which I am doing. If you're using all-purpose, I would have stopped. And if all goes well, we'll revisit this. We'll do this again, but with a fun stuffed pasta. Longer than all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour, I guess, comes together more readily. Most of the recipes that I was finding just call for all-purpose because it's a very available flour. I had some semolina because I had picked some up. So I decided to use that, but in my reading, I found that the semolina recipes asked for longer knead times. So I was shooting for 10 minutes for all-purpose, and I'm shooting for 15 for semolina. So we've got another minute to go. And I think that this is definitely, it's one of those things where once you know what you're shooting for, a feel of it, you don't need to time it out. You just knead until it feels right. And I know I don't want that grittiness in here. I want this to be nice and smooth. We can pull some of this excess flour away. This is nowhere near being a sticky dough. And I don't need any more flour in it. So we'll pull that aside. But this is smooth to the touch. It kind of doesn't want to adhere to itself really strongly. So there's a big old kink in the bottom where it doesn't want to really stick unless I really mash and pinch. The gluten in this thing is all tense right now from all this work I've been doing to it. There's our ball. We're going to wrap that guy in plastic, cling wrap, so that he does not dry out anymore. Okay. You take the guy, you wrap him, and you twist it off like a, well, I don't know how to, there's a way you can do it with two hands where you just kind of go like, woo, and it binds it together. I'm just going to fold it under. And that guy, the glutens are all super tense right now. They have to relax a bit before we can stretch them out. So that has to go and rest now for a while. And a while is somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour. So which is why I really wanted to get cooking and get that thing started. because now I've got to think about all the rest of this stuff. Now I've got time to sit back and think about my flavors. I would very much like to use this enormous leek. This leek that doesn't even fit on my camera. This leek that's full arm's worth of leek. I don't know why the leeks are so enormous. This wasn't even the most enormous one they had. Earlier, our new friend, Ben Jerome, expressed a great deal of enthusiasm towards the mango that we have here. Which got me, I picked up the mango because mangoes were on sale. So I grabbed a mango. So mango leek can stand in for like an onion or a green onion or a scallion, something like that. And give us some bulk. Mangoes obviously are very sweet, but I think they incorporate well into sort of sweet, savory dishes. And getting this guy open is going to be another project anyways. So let's see. I've got half of a jalapeno. If you saw my lettuce wraps the other day, this guy was on them, and we didn't use the whole thing because it was pretty large jalapeno. So I've got some jalapeno. So we can do a sweet, spicy leek shallot garlic. You can't even see the garlic. Because leek is in the onion family. It has that oniony flavor to it, but it's not quite the same as an onion or a shallot or a garlic. It's its own kind of thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to use this whole leek either. It's very large. What do you think? I've got other options. I've got other things I could throw in there. We do have some tomato. We could make a tomato-based thing. There's fresh lime and fresh avocado. Although that might be a bit too much. We, of course, have some cheese. We've actually got multiple cheeses. I've got Parmesan. I've also got feta. Oop. Got one in here that's growing a little bit of a patina. That should be thrown away while I'm looking at it and realizing that it's over the hill. It wasn't one of the ones I was considering for today anyways, so no loss. Ooh, you know what I've got left over from last time? Fennel. These fennel quarters. They're going to go off if I don't use them. They would add an interesting, different flavor and quite a lot of texture. A little bit of leek, a little bit of that. I discovered from cooking them the first time that this outermost layer on both of them was very tough. So that cuts down the available amount we have by a lot. But it still should bring quite a good flavor, the remaining fennel we've got. And I got to use them up anyways because they're not going to keep. They've already been in there for a week. You can see they're dehydrating and kind of unfurling. Okay. Okay. Fennel, leek, spicy, a little bit sweet. I'm concocting a flavor profile pretty much on the fly. Let's get out some ingredient bowls to capture these things as I come up with them. We're going to do a proper full mise en place today because I've got the time for it. Get out my board. Now the core part, is the core part super hard, or am I imagining that? I'm going to take the leaves off. We're going to use the leaves. The leaves are going to be the main bit that we use. I know the core part is edible. I'm just thinking it might be hard. No, it seems fine. I'm going to take that brown bit off the top, though. That looks like it's gone over the hill. But the little nub in here in the middle is definitely good to eat. So, of course, it wasn't brown when I put it in there. It's because it's been sitting there and I haven't been getting to it. Okay. So, these little bits are just going to be, we're going to see how much we get when it's all diced up. It's hard to judge when we got all these large leaves because they're going to cook down a bit when we get to cooking them. And when we slice them up, they'll also look more smaller, matchsticky. I'm going to take the little frondy bit off the top of that guy. We discovered last time that the stem, the little narrow stems, have a lot of fennel flavor. I used them to flavor my NyQuil chicken sauce, the NyQuil sauce. Patent pending, NyQuil sauce. I want to cut this fennel down because it's got these long, straight fibers like a celery, and they were a bit chewy last time. I could get through them, but I think it'll be a more pleasant eating experience if they are cut, although I should do them on the bias, so they're longer pieces. So let's do that, like that. There you go. So it cuts through all those things, but they're nice, but they're these much longer strips. Better. Okay, so some of those are going to be just awkwardly small when they go in the finished thing. I'm not sure why I decided to do this today. Today of all days. No. Because initially I was thinking I'll make something that does not require me to go out and get any additional ingredients. We'll just do stuff that I already have. because I often fall into the trap of, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have X that's part of it. So then I'll run out and grab something extra. I should be constraining myself more to just using the ingredients I've already got. But then I went out anyways, looking for stuff, for inspirations to add to this. And I ended up coming back with just the avocado. The avocado is the only thing that I've got out now that I picked up today while I was out hunting for inspiration. That's a decent amount of fennel. It's probably more fennel than I need, honestly. But we're going to use it up because it's got to be used up. Fennel. I want to put quite a bit of garlic in this, too. I've got a couple of these partially used bulbs, heads. That can't sit around forever, so we'll break into them. And this time we won't forget about garlic. Do I have any pre-peeled garlics? I remember last time I peeled some more garlic than I needed, and then I had extra garlic kind of hanging around. I don't believe that survived the next day. But just to double check, make sure I don't have any extra garlic before I peel these guys. Where's my red tube? There's my red tube. Triumphant return of the old red tube, which quickly peels these nice, plump, sort of round-shaped ones, because they roll super easily. A little bit sticky. Oop, big paper fell off my floor. Little bit sticky. Garlic, of course, doesn't taste like it when you're eating it, but it's got quite a lot of sugar in it. And that results in it being very sticky when you crush it. You're supposed to not press down with the tube hard enough to crush it, but inevitably it gets a little bit banged up. That one might be too small to roll. And of course, you can never have too much garlic. No such thing as too much garlic. It's absurd to even put those words together like that. Okay. I'm going to do the garlic two ways today. Got some nice fat ones, and we've got some of these long, skinny guys. And I've got an ingredient bowl ready to catch them. I want to really pulverize half of these, but then have the other half much more coarse, so there's little chunks. So I'm going to take the smallest guy, the biggest guy. No, I'm going to take these two big guys, and they're going to be the chunks, because they'll be easier to cut into chunks because they're already kind of large. We, of course, always mash our garlic well in advance of its actual use, so that it can develop its flavor. The chemicals, I say this every time, but it's worth reminding, chemicals in garlic that give it that pungent garlicky flavor are expressed when you break the cells, and they combine and develop over as it sits around. And they are heat sensitive. So if you cook it too quickly, you will break them down rather than forming that nice, robust, strong, garlicky flavor. So if you want to amp up the garlic in your dish without just dumping a bunch of extra garlic in your dish, doing it with using the back edge of the knife for this. Do not use the front edge of your sharp knife for this. Never put the blade of your knife on your grater. We're putting the back edge, the dull edge, to get that off of there. You will destroy the blade of your knife by scraping across the little teeth, and probably destroy the little teeth. Not a good time. Not a good time. This development of garlic flavor is also the reason. I don't know why I shout louder when I'm across the room. The microphone is attached to my head. I just feel like I'm shouting over to you guys, even though I should just be talking conversationally. This garlic flavor that develops when you crush it up is also the reason that it's pretty much never a worthwhile idea to buy that pre-minced garlic or pre-pasted garlic, because the flavor is a volatile compound. Once the garlic produces it, it's supposed to be a defense mechanism. It's this pungent, spicy flavor. So when an animal bites into the garlic, they get a mouthful of this pungent, spicy garlic flavor, and it makes them go, ew. And of course, humans come along, we eat all sorts of nonsense. So we bite into it, and we're like, ooh, tasty. Although, if you bite into a raw clove of garlic, you will understand it is a deterrent. We cook them down, but that raw garlic flavor is potent. But it's a volatile compound, which means it escapes, breaks down after it's been produced. So if you buy pre-minced or pre-pasted garlics, they won't have that fresh garlic pungency. I'm adding these chunked garlics into my pasted garlics. So the only kinds of garlic I buy for use are whole raw garlic and garlic powder. Garlic powder doesn't have that strong pungency, but it has quite a different flavor profile. Oh, scratch that. There's a third kind of garlic. It has quite a different flavor profile overall. The garlic powder, because it's been cooked and then dehydrated. It's not just dehydrated. They essentially mince it into a paste and then dehydrate it from there until the paste dries up into a powder. Okay, that's going to be our garlic element. Since I'm talking about garlic, and I said there's a third kind of garlic, if I can find my jar of them. These guys, black garlic, which is not a breed of garlic. It is a preparation of garlic. These things are fermented. Ooh, they smell so good. They are fermented garlic bulbs. These are specifically single head garlics that were fermented, but you can ferment any garlic. And they're in their little, they're still in their little papers, which help keep them preserved. There's a little nugget in the middle of each one of those. I don't want to put that in this. I think that's too much for this dish, so I'm not going to crack one open now to show it off. But I have to be reminded that those are there because they're not in with my other garlic. Those would be good. Those would be good in some of the things I make instead of just the regular garlic. They're a little bit harder to use. They're soft and sticky and almost like a jam on the inside. So you can't crush them or mince them up because they just turn to a paste. But it still holds together, so the paste doesn't like disperse into things. You really have to kind of put it on a board and mash it out. They're a little bit awkward to use, but they give you a strong, delightful, dark umami flavor. Umami. We're going to use this because I want some spicy in this dish, and this guy has already been cut into, so we have to use them or lose them. It's not super spicy, it's just a jalapeno, and I am taking the bulk of the pith out. I'm not going to be super pedantic about getting every little scrap of it out, but taking that big chunk out of the middle. If you want it to be spicier, leave that big chunk in there. I just want a little bit of spice from this. We're going to take the seeds out. The seeds are also spicy, but pepper seeds are hard and bitter in addition to being spicy. Not the best eating. They're meant to be accidentally swallowed whole by various animals, so they can be deposited elsewhere at a later date, if you take my meaning. They're also designed to be difficult to get a hold of for a bird's beak, so birds won't crack into them. Because that's another danger. Big delicious seeds get torn into by those our friendly feathered friends. Okay. Pepper. Garlic, fennel, jalapeno pepper, leek, mango, black pepper, splash of white wine, salt, crumble of feta on the top, maybe some dill. Ooh. Sweet, spicy, savory, salty, creamy. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm not going to peel the entirety of this mango, but we're going to take out half the mango. This half. So I'm going to try to get in there. Perfect. Get in there, get a big chunk of the flesh, but slide past that pit. And then take a spoon with a narrow edge. I actually think I have one with an even narrower edge than that. It might be dirty right now. Oh, nope, there it is. Spoon with a narrow edge can get in between the mangoes, the tasty mango, and the skin. and you can get the flesh away. Doing one chunk of mango like this is easy. Getting all that off of there, that's where it becomes hard, because the first slice, super easy. As soon as you've got this surface exposed, the mango becomes slippery. The inside of the mango is very slick. But since we're only using part of it, I only need to do part of it. Throw that skin part away. There you go. Part of a mango. It's just a shade under ripe as well, which helps it in two ways for what I'm doing. One, I plan on cooking it a little bit, so that's having one that's a little bit firmer is helpful. If it was too soft and sticky ripe, it would fall apart. It also means it's got a little bit less of that slippery juice. But while it's still slippery and juicy, it's just a little bit less. And then we're going to probably more here than I need for what I'm doing. The amount of vegetables I'm preparing. This is a fruit. The amount of fruits and vegetables I'm preparing. It's probably more accurate for if I was making this for a group. Maybe serving 3 or 4. Which we're not doing because I made pasta for 1. But it means you get some snacking mango. Who does not like some snacking mango? Okay. Do I want to get those even thinner? Kinda. I kind of want to give them a zip like that so they're more along the same size as I've got the pepper and the fennel. And again, I think I've got too much, but again, snacking mango. The if I have extra fennel or leek, I can't really munch on those, but mango. And mango goes well with salty and spicy flavors. Chili mango is a fairly common combination, so I think this will work. Sweet salty is. We're all familiar with sweet salty being a winning combination when it's applied to sweets, when you add salt to something that's already sweet. But it works the opposite way too. If you add something sweet to something that's already salty savory, that also does quite a bit of good for it. It boosts it up. Okay, I think we're probably going to skip the shallot and the onion because the leek is going to give us the bulk of what we need. And this is more leek than I'm going to be able to use. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to start at the top, taking slices, work my way down toward the root. If I leave the root intact, the thing should hold a little bit better because this end won't be an exposed cut surface. It's going to be this dried out root. So it'll only be drying out from one end instead of both, because it's currently drying out from the top end, although it's also sprouting a little bit, trying to push a new leaf out through the middle there. So who knows? You can eat. Now, they always say, only use the white and light green parts of the leek. You can eat this part of the leek too. You just have to cook it longer. That particular layer, maybe not, but you just have to cook this thing longer. It's perfectly edible. It's just a little bit tougher than the parts down here. That's the inside of your leek, if you've never seen one. They look a lot like a really big green onion. And they have, I love leek. I need to eat leek more often. Unlike a green onion, they are pretty much solid through. The layers all come together to form a very solid ring. And then when you cook them, the layers all kind of separate out, but they're still rings. So some people will bisect these so that instead of having a bunch of rings in your finished dish, you've got a bunch of strips. And we could do that. They cook down quite a bit, so I am going generous. I want got that much fennel, and I want at least that much leek. Although I think that might be too much fennel. We might not use all the fennel. Some of the fennel might end up going to waste. That's going to be enough of the leek, though. I don't want any more than that. Leek rounds. They're a little bit tougher than some of their relatives in the onion family, and they do require a little bit more cooking. I think I am going to take these out and then split them halfway so they unfurl. Just going to go to the middle and split them right to the edge so that they will all nicely unfurl in the cook. What was I saying? I distracted myself. I think the flavor of leek is lovely, and I need to come up with more recipes to use them so that I can use them, especially when they're in season. I think they're in season right now, which is why I'm seeing these enormous leeks for the same price as the little bitty ones that I used to see, because they're super big right now. They're being harvested. You don't have to do this step where you cut them. You can let them be little rings. I think it would be neat to serve them with like a calamari and a ring pasta, which is called calamaretti. It's calamari shaped pasta. You could have a dish that's all circles. That might be cute. That might be a cute project. Okay, scrap bowl, top of the leek. We can hang on to that, although I'm going to peel that one wilted leaf off and throw that in the scrap bowl. This bit of the leek, as I said, is edible. It's a little bit dirty up here because it literally pushed through the dirt. So you do have to wash that out. Sometimes you'll get little bits of grit caught in between the layers because it comes up from underground. But don't necessarily immediately throw the top bit away, because it's edible. It's just a little bit chewier, a little bit stringier. The tenderest part of the leek is the white bit at the bottom. But we're saving that for another day, I guess, because I didn't get that far down. Here are our okay. Those are our ingredients. What do you think of? We're going to add a little black pepper, so we'll get that out. I've got some olive oil. There's going to be olive oil in it. Get that out. Salt is handy. I'm trying to think. Flavors. A little bit of dill. I want to put a little bit of dill. Ooh, punchy dill. I've got some fresh dill. Harvested it myself. Well, I mean, I didn't grow it. I I bought a flowering dill head because I needed some dill fronds, and the top all went to seed, and then the seeds all dried up, and then they all fell off, and I collected them and put them in this jar. It's very, very potent in that jar, I'll tell you what. But I don't know. I've never made something quite like this before, so I don't know if the dill would be a problem. Parsley. We're going to throw some parsley in this as well. I think that should be enough things. Parsley's in this bag. Oop. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. My throat was actually getting a little bit scratchy. A lot of talking, and my throat was a little bit scratchy this morning. I hope I'm not coming down with something. It might just be because the weather changed so abruptly. It was 2 days ago. It was in the mid 70s. Yesterday it was in the 60s and raining, and today it got up into the whopping 40s. So I'm betting the abrupt change in weather is probably the culprit there, but I'll keep an eye on it. I did have a little bit of a scratch. Okay, so I think I've got a handle on where this dish is headed. Let me clear a little space on my staging table next to the stove. We'll move some ingredients in that direction. This is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting thing. Moving my ingredients in that direction because we're going to need this space here for our pasta when we roll out our pasta, because we still have to revisit. We still have to get back to the pasta and actually turn it into noodles. At the moment, it's a big ball, and while a big ball of pasta is fun, it's very difficult to eat. The reason you don't make gnocchi with standard pasta dough, it would be very difficult to eat. Regular pasta dough is much, much, much denser than those than gnocchi can handle. I'm tidying up part of the workspace that you guys just can't see, which is super not entertaining. It is probably something I shouldn't do, but I can't not. Like the leek gets set aside. Okay. 115. So our ball of dough has been in there for round about 45. Be there either. So by the time I get this guy hooked up, this guy hooked up, we should be ready to go, I think. I want to make sure we're visible for this, and the crank also got to be on my side. The crank handle goes in down here. So I can't put it this way around, because then I'd be cranking up here, and I'd be reaching across the whole thing to get there. So I'm gonna do it this way. It's going to come out and should have given this a more thorough inspection. While I was just putting my hand in there, I found a crumb of a pasta of ages past. Of course, dried and desiccated to the point where it's not a problem, but I want to give this a little quick scrub out with a brush. Just in case I missed any more. Okay. Okay. Bring the guy back. So this is a pasta roller. And it comes with a clamp. Well, I should say it was provided to me with a clamp that does not quite exactly fit the device. I feel like the clamp was an accessory provided by the previous user, not to the manufacturer. But get that, you can't see the clamp. Get that guy clamped in there so that he doesn't move. I want to get this. And you put the handle in there, and you, oh. Okay, well, should have tested that before I clamped it down. It needs to be closer to the bottom of the screen because the handle was colliding with the edge of the countertop. So it has to be here. Ew, that's bad viewing. That's not good. Should have. This is something I should have tested before I committed to this. Oh well, there's literally no alternatives. It has to go right where it is now. So I guess I'll adjust the camera in a sec. I haven't adjusted that camera in ages because we haven't had the need to, but here we are. Okay. Clamped in place. Secure enough. And then the rollers go like so, and you get your finger caught in there. Can't really see it. So it's pretty close to the edge of the board here. That guy's going to have to move because I'm going to use this. Have to use this space to roll it out because you can't just put the ball in there and expect it to go. You got to roll it out flat first. Get it into like a envelope fold. So our color correcting sheet is going to have to move, which is going to spoil our color correction. Let's get the dough ball out and see what it's doing. Here's our dough ball. Ooh, What if I color correct up there? Does that help? Not really, no. Well, we're going to have some slightly low color balance for this part. Okay, so first thing I notice, it's softer. It's less of a firm ball. It was almost like a rubber ball consistency when I put it in there. It's softened up, which is good. We need that. You literally could not make this if it didn't soften up. It's slightly tacky on the surface too, so I think we're going to get our flour back out. Flour our worktop lightly. And our roller. In our hands. Our rolling pin. This guy. This is, I'm getting rid of me because I've created myself a very awkward space. I'm quite cramped right now. I'm going to end up bumping into my own pasta roller. Nope. You can see how as I push it out, it kind of pulls back together. That's what we're looking for. It's nice and stretchy. Very elastic. I want to get this guy the width of our, yeah, okay, so no wider than that. If it's wider than the mouth of the roller, then it will not fit. Okay, that worked better than I had hoped. We've got it flattened out. It's gonna fit in the thingy. So, moment of truth. Let's see if this is actually gonna work. The dial up here. The dial up here is thickness settings. It changes the width of the opening there. We're starting it on the widest setting. Oop, and I started it pretty close to the side over there. Wow. Wow. Look. Look, guys, I'm making noodles. Oh, this is so dark. All right, I'm going to crank the brightness on this. Hope it doesn't wash it out too much. I felt like that was just too dark. Heck! I'm making noodles! Okay, you're supposed to run this through on the same thickness. Wow, my roller keeps trying to lift up. It needs another clamp. Don't have another clamp. When there's nothing in there, it doesn't, but the resistance of the pasta makes the roller kind of want to ride up off the edge of the counter, which is why we've got a clamp. But the clamp is not quite cutting it on my counter. It's probably designed for a less stupid counter. But you're supposed to run this through the same size thing 3 times because it kind of retracts on itself from the elasticness. That's 3. And then you take it to the next thickness and do it again. Spacer. What spacer? I have a C clamp. Let me get the box that it came in. Oh! It came with a piece of wood. How am I supposed to use this? Clearly the clamp is supposed to go on here. Okay, run me through how I'm supposed to clamp this on using this piece of wood real quick. Because I don't quite parse how this is meant to work. Putting it between the bottom of the table and the clamp. There's not room for that. There's super not room for that where I've got this. I've got maybe a 1/4 inch of clearance underneath the edge of the countertop. There's no way this piece of wood's getting in there. Unless I put it in. No, then it's too wide. I mean, if you've got like a full table, I can see this working, but the way my thing is set up, it doesn't have the room for that. Okay, well, I'm going to put the clamp back on. Maybe turn it the other way. No, because then it doesn't even... Oh! If I put it here... I think I see where I made part of my mistakes. That's what that hole is for. Of course, now it doesn't... correct. Shoot. Okay, okay. I think I understand how this thing is meant to work. And it's going to have a hard time on my countertop because this countertop is not well put together for this. But I see that it was meant to be clamped on this side, not the back. I had it clamped on the back. Oh, there goes the handle. One of many things that would be so much easier if only I had a better kitchen. No wonder it's kind of slippy. No wonder it's kind of weirdly slippy. What if... No, that wouldn't work because it wouldn't be connected then. Ugh. We will chalk this up to something I should have checked before diving in and committing to this. But there's it's too late now. I will come up with a solution down the line. My pasta's going to dry out if I wait too long. Anyways, we're set to 2. I got to get on this. Okay, get him in there. Pull it through. Nice. Now, I think you're supposed to do a book fold. And put it through this way. Oh. The clamp fell off. What I really need is an extra pair of hands. That's what I really need. My clamp just fell off, just completely detached. Okay, this thing... This is why people use the ones that come as a attachment to their Cuisinart branded stand mixers, because then you don't have to turn the crank. The machine turns the crank. All you have to do is feed the pasta in and then pull it out the bottom. Okay, give that one a little quick rolly roll before I stick it in there again. Also going to lean into it a little bit more. I think I can jury rig a solution to this, but I can't do it on the fly while I'm cooking. It's getting longer every time I do this. Which is good. And it's holding together like like a good pasta should. Our angle's not super ideal for viewing, but that's okay. Oh, come out this way. Okay. Let's crank it on 3. Hold it that way. Make them even longer. I hope this is less boring than it feels like it is. Come on, man. Straighten up. Why are you pulling toward the crank side? Ugh. Oh, it tore. Why did it pull to the side? It tore quite badly. Why did it pull to the side like that? I'm going to go back to 2 and roll it through again. Actually, I'm going to go back to 1 and roll it through again. Aren't you supposed to fold it? I'm. Please chime in if I'm doing something wrong. Please. I thought you're supposed to run it through a couple times, give it like a fold, turn it the other way to get it like laminating before you go for the really skinny sizes. But if that's wrong, please chime in and correct me. I feel like it's dried out too. I feel like we I feel like I futzed with the machine too long and it started to dry the pasta out. I should have just gone for it when it was working at the beginning. Because we've got a little break in there now. Also, you fold it to sort of recover these little frayed edges. Like, the whole premise of today is I don't know what I'm doing with making my own pasta, and I'm hoping it'll work. And if it doesn't, I'm going to have little weird pasta, like, snack scraps. But I can just run it through a few times instead of fold it. I saw somebody do it that way, so I thought you're supposed to do it that way while it was still kind of thick, and then once it started getting super long, you stop doing that. Okay, so I'm just going to run it through repeatedly now. This little break on the end is not going to correct itself, is it? Okay. Come on, start. Okay. Oh no, don't go to that edge. It keeps wanting to go into this corner. Gotta catch the bottom. If I can keep my hand on the top of it, this is why I want an extra pair of hands. If I keep my hand on the top of it, I could direct it into the right spot in the wheel. But since I don't have an extra pair of hands, and it'll just bunch up at the bottom if I don't get my hands down there. I kind of have to direct the feed by pulling instead of pushing. Yeah, I was going to do it just before I got to the thin sizes, which means this will be my last pull of the whole thing. Then cut it in half. Because it's getting a little bit too long to handle. So we take a pastry knife. I can cut right on the board or on the countertop with that without damaging it. Take that part, click this guy to 4, and get feeding. Also this way, if I ends up being not strong enough to withstand the rollers, at one of these lengths, I'll know when to stop for the other one. 5. It just really wants to pull toward that edge, and I hate it. Oh my God. It really wants to pull towards this bottom side of the roller, and I don't know why, and I don't know how to fix it other than having someone at the top to direct traffic. I don't know that my pasta is going to survive another notch below that. So I'm going to stop there, and that's going to be the last notch I go to. Oh, stop doing that. Why do you do that? Why is it? It's extremely frustrating because I put it in straight and then it just drifts this way, and I don't know why. This guy needs one more pass, so they're all the same thickness. I'm going to start as far to the other end as I can, I guess, since it really wants to drift. It's something to do with the gravity of it. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to roll this anymore. That took long. Let's get this clamp off of here. Or no. I was going to cut it using the cutter roller, which you can't even see because it's off the side of the thing. Which you can't even see because it's off the side of the thing. It's got these. Damn it. It's got these cutters on it for making spaghetti and linguine, I guess. But I don't really want to set this thing back up facing the other direction, so I guess I'm going to cut it by hand. It's going to be whatever that shape is called. The rough by handness shape. Let's get the camera back to its proper place. This was not as easy as I was hoping. That one clearly got a little bit shredded on the side there when it didn't go through the roller straight. Sorry, I'm definitely coming across a bit frustrated because I was a bit frustrated by the way it just would not go in straight. And I think the only solution I've got is have a friend when I'm doing this so that somebody can direct and somebody can crank. So just kind of, I'm going to do one of these slices to see how it behaves. They should still be all separate noodly pieces. Yeah. I guess the shape I'm going for is slight disaster. As we all know, the names of the pasta shapes are just literal descriptions of what they look like they are in Italian. I Fortunately, that is definitely the most time-consuming part of this whole ordeal, because the pasta itself cooks incredibly fast. Fresh pasta cooks like a minute or something. It's super, super fast compared to the dry stuff. And I think once you've practiced a little bit and you're not just screaming into the wind, it won't be nearly as difficult. Also, if you don't stop to futz with your clamps halfway through the rolling out process, that would also definitely speed things up. But there, yeah. And as you can see, they're not even, but they are holding together. They've held together in these nice noodle strips. This shape has a name. I know it does, because this is like the rustic homemade shape. I've seen this one. And then you they got flour on the surface because there was quite a bit of residual flour on them from the rolling process. Pulling out the nicer ones, and the really scrappy ones are probably not going to make the cut here. So they aren't sticking together because they got flour on them. If you didn't flour them, they probably would stick to each other at this point. Okay. Okay, let's come back. Let's come back to have my face. Hi. That was a little bit of an ordeal. That took a little bit, a lot longer than I was expecting. But I learned a lot. I will say that it was a bit of an ordeal, and it was harder than I was expecting. But I definitely learned some things, so I'll be ready for next time. I didn't put my water on the boil, so we're going to do that now. Then we're going to start cooking the vegetables real quick. The rest of this should come together very quickly by comparison to that, because it's kind of a fresh, saucy sauce. So the water is going to be boiling in the back there. That is the wrong burner. That's the one. How long to cook fresh pasta? Almost never exceeds 4 minutes. So a couple of minutes in the boiling water is all it needs. Let's get out a pan and start cooking these vegetables, because they also need cooking. Olive oil. Not much left in that olive oil. Leeks. They're going in right away because they need to soften up. They're a little bit tougher than your average onion relative. Fennel. I said at the beginning, I think I've got too much, and I remain with that opinion. I think we're going to use that much of it. That much of it. So there's a little bit left over that's probably just going to go in the compost because I don't have a good follow-up for it. Pinch of salt to get these guys started. Now the adage for pastas is supposed to be that the water is as salty as the Mediterranean. And normally when you're making dry pasta, definitely don't do that. They will come out super, super salty. Fresh pasta isn't in the boiling water for nearly as long. So it should be saltier than you would for dry pasta. Okay. Lost. Our viewership plummeted over the course of me struggling with that pasta roller. I feel like pasta rolling is not good viewing. Oh, noted. Um, oh well. Oh well. That's why I do these things. I do it because I don't know what's gonna happen. If I knew all the outcomes, it wouldn't be nearly as fun. Um, a lot of the things I cook off stream and post pictures of are super non-experimental because I know exactly how they're going to come out. So there's no risk. I could do some of those here. I have in the past done some of those when I've not got an interesting idea. Say, the few people who are left after the ordeal with the pasta. Um, do any of you know what the shape I made is called? I know it's got a name. They're kind of like super wide. My brain is saying tagliatelle. Um, my brain is saying tagliatelle, but I don't. Tagliatelle. Yeah, mine aren't even, but yeah, that's the shape I was thinking of. Okay, okay. I have a sip of my old grape juice here. Old grape juice. Buca de Beppo. Uh, I thought Buca de Beppo was a competitor of Olive Garden, and as we know, Olive Garden is about as far from Italian food as Taco Bell is from Mexican food. Um, okay, the leaks have obviously unfurled. The fennel is starting to soften up. We're going to now put in the large quantity of garlic and the peppers. I suppose what I'm making is also pretty far from actual Italian food, so who am I to talk? Boy, I I didn't expect the pasta to take that long, and I am now thanking myself for coming up with a relatively quick actual cook so that I will have a finished product within a reasonable amount of time, even though I struggled with the even though I struggled for a while. Mango is going in because it needs to soften up. Black pepper is going in. Red pepper is going in. I'm actually using Tajín. Tajín, not a sponsor. It's spicy, but it's also sour. And it has little red flecks. It'll provide little red flecks to our finished thing. The water is boiling. I will take my big wad of pasta and cascade it in. My pan is too hot. My pan is too hot. Some of my garlic has burned slightly and stuck. And the way to fix that, the easy way to fix that, take your handy bottle of a dry white. Stop foaming there for a moment there. Very starchy, extra foam. Take your handy bottle of dry white, give it a healthy splash. It will cool the pan down. It will de-stickify the stuff at the bottom. And it'll add some wine flavor. Ultimately, it'll make it taste like wine. That's what adding wine does. Who'd have thought? Let's make sure these guys aren't sticking into a big, crazy wad. I'm not going to let those scrappy bits go to waste. I'm just not going to cook them with the main chunk here. I'm going to fish these out once they're done, and then I'm going to cook the scrappy bits in the same water. They're still perfectly edible pasta. They just don't look super nice for my final plating. I said I was going to throw some dill into this, and I have not done so yet. It's not too late to back out, but it's about to be too late to back out because I'm going to take a little bit of my dill. Very potent dill I've got here. Grind it up in my mortar. Ooh, I know. Do I have fennel seed easily to hand? I do. Oh, it's not even been opened. Wow, I bought a fresh fennel, didn't even open it. Who would have ever thought such a thing? A little bit of dill, a little bit of fennel. Grind those up. And get them in there. Another ingredient I can throw in there. I've got some basil. It's not quite fully dried. It's been drying in the sun in the front window here, which is a little bit of a slow process. A dehydrator is one of the things on my Christmas list. But it's still good. It's just a little bit floppy, not so much crispy. We'll just take a sprig of that. Where's my board? Sprig of that. Board. Get some of that nice basil in there. I keep hoping the weather will just dry out fully, and then all the things I'm trying to dry in the front will dry. Our pasta is probably just about overcooked. This needs to be a little bit hotter. That guy. For all that struggling, I'm at the point of needing to work very quickly. Noodles in the plate. Yep, even that one that tried to escape. I did overcook it. I left it in there a little bit too long. I left it in there a little bit too long. That's what it looks like. Why did I turn that burner off? You stay on because you need to boil these scraps. They look good. They're not terrible. They're not super overdone. They are a little overdone. I can see on the surface that they're a little bit mush soft. They still have a bounce and a stretch to them. They're not like they're falling apart. They're not cooked to death. They're not Chef Boyardee. Oh, actually, they're a tiny bit over. Okay, I take it back. They're a tiny bit over. They're not very over. They're just a. I probably left them in there half a minute too long. Maybe not even that. Very close, extremely close. Looking at them, I thought they were going to be a little bit worse, but they actually came out pretty good. So that's good. So that's good. We actually had a successful final bit there. Okay, okay, okay. 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 Well, as I said, this part's wrapping up very quickly because all these final elements cook fast. I just need to test the tenderness of the vegetables. Mango's good. One of these fennel pieces. Perfect. Perfect. And then we can get this on the top here. Bizarrely, and I think this is the first ever, I'm still cooking, even as I'm plating. Because the scraps are going to be cooked and I'm going to eat those too. I licked the sauce off my finger and oh, wow. I have done a thing. Things are happening. There are flavors coming at you left and right in this dish. And we're going to add one more. A crumbling of goat feta upon the top. Mm. Tasty, like your fingers. If you're in a professional kitchen, do not lick your fingers after you crumble tasty ingredients onto a plate for service. Just wash your hands. And parsley, just a little bit. I ended up not adding it to the sauce, but it needs to be added now because it is a garnish as well as an herb. I'm actually going to tear some of the parsley because I don't just want a sprig for garnish. I want it to be a component here. So we're going to tear up a little bit of it. And then adorn with a badly folded, and then adorn it with a sprig. Okay. Okay. The scrappy noodles are in the pot and boiling away. They're probably just about done. I'm going to put them in a catching dish. They're not being served, but I'll show you to them. I'll show them to you. I'll show you to them. Get over here. Oh, I should have. You know what I should have done is tossed my pasta in my sauce stuff. For those of you following along at home, in addition to not doing all the things I did while making the pasta, you should toss your tagliatelle into your pan of sauce and toppings with a little splash of the cooking water to form together. Here's my scrappy noodles. They're in a little dish. They're, I mean, they're ugly. If I pull one out, they're ugly. They're ragged and pointed on one end, but it's not disintegrating. It's still a noodle. All the parts that were connected are connected. You can break it apart. Nice and tender. Pretty good. Tastes like a noodle. It tastes exactly like pasta. Let me take some snaps of this beastie real quick. Exceptionally quick today because I feel like I've been here too long. I haven't done one that ran this long in quite a bit. My recent projects have been much more constrained, and I know my outcomes and such. Even the NyQuil chicken, I kind of knew about how long to plan for it, even if I didn't know if it would taste good. I knew what was going into it and how long it would take to prepare. This one not so much. But that's part of the learning process. That's half the whole fun of the project here. Let's see. Let's turn the brightness back. so this isn't completely washed out. And color correct, or shading correct. There, that looks much better. Okay, and all that remains is to taste. I've already tasted the noodles. They taste exactly like noodles. They're bouncy. They're a little bit chewy. They're cooked through. Cutting them any thinner, I actually probably could have stopped at one thicker than that. They're slightly thinner than store-bought. This combination, I don't know how it's going to work. So I guess we're going to dive in and give it a try. Try to get one of each of the elements. Mmm. 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 Hmm. Interesting. The main descriptor I have for this is interesting. It's not bad. I'm not going to say it's my greatest triumph. It is a bit of a roller coaster in the mouth. It actually needs more goat cheese. The sweetness of the mango and the spiciness of the pepper complement each other well. The fennel is getting kind of lost. I got little hints of the flavor in there. It's mostly crunch. It's mostly providing a crunch. The leek is definitely in there, but again, it kind of fell apart. So you're getting a little bit of it in every bite, but there's not like big pieces of it. Leek does that, unless you like grill the whole thing. I added more goat cheese because I think the fattiness of the goat cheese and the sort of tanginess of the feta and the saltiness as well is what this needs to balance it out, because the mango is a little bit too sweet. Mm-hmm. Better. The strong flavor of the goat cheese is definitely cutting through the rest of it. I like it. I don't know that I would go out of my way to make it again, but it's not a bad combination. I quite like the sweet, sour, spicy trio from the mango, the jalapeno pepper, and the tahini. I think that actually works quite well. The pasta is providing a delightful slate upon which to eat this dish, but it's not like it's just a spectator here. It's got a good flavor. It's got a good chew. Having a good chew is important in a pasta, in my opinion. I'm putting some of my spices away. So it's got that bounce. It's got that. They're big enough to. It's a good size for this stuff because it's kind of a chunky topping I've got going on. The noodles are big enough that when I dive in, I can get a good big old noodle right there. Oop, that one broke. Well, I can get a big old noodle. Oh, there it is. Along with my chunks. Instead of doing like a spaghetti twirl, you can just kind of stab in. It is ultimately a sour, sweet. I'm listing these in the order they're in my mouth right now. Sour, sweet, spicy, salty. It's a sour pasta first. The acid from the mango, the acid from the tahine are the first thing. Okay. Well, farewell, bookwoman. I suppose you have to get to your dinner. I've gone longer than I usually do. I'm doing a long description of this because it's complicated. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not 100% sure of it. I'm gonna eat it. I'm not like it's bad. It's very confusing. It's a bit of a confusing thing. Let's go raid somebody. Let's go raid somebody. What is Two Girls, One Game cooking today? Let's mute that tab. It looks like she is making a batter. No, that looks like, I'm not sure. Which is a good suggestion that I should probably go find out. So let's go raid her. Just to find out what she's cooking. Okay. Well, that was an adventure. I definitely learned a lot. I hope somebody else learned something, or at least was mildly entertained by my fumbling around with pasta. I did definitely learn quite a bit about pasta making from that misadventure. I'm going to call that a misadventure. Let's mute that tab and go find out. So I'm willing to revisit pasta in the future. I do want to try a stuffed pasta. And knowing some of the difficulties I had, I think I know where I would head with it to make it a little bit easier on myself. So I guess think of that in the future. Catch you next time. Thanks for hanging out.